let the brainwashing begin. You're starting to see so many ads, and legacy media completely tell you that Trump and JD are just completely weird folks. All the while, Kamala is just the answer. The answer. Now we're going to dive in. Who actually is considered to be quote-unquote weird? And then we're going to discuss the importance of electing the right people for office. We're going to talk about Kamala policies, and we're going to talk about the people that are just avid supporters and what she is going to represent for America if she wins. Now, one thing I don't want to do is underestimate the system. Trump is not running against Kamala. Trump is running against a system that is still led by, we just found out, Obama, and also other people who have extremely big power and the media on their side. Now today, let's discuss that, and let's discuss the seriousness of making sure that she is not elected. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but let us know your thoughts on the video. Now, if you watched the last few days, we're trying to build the purpose of electing Trump. You know, from the fact that conservatives, especially Christian conservatives, they have a friend when it comes to what Donald is standing for and what he's already done in this first term. Then we talked about how important it was to, even as a conservative, to hold my nose and get people like the RFKs or the Tulsis and people like that to unify and help grab in some of the center. Not to change policy, but to make people realize the value of electing a conservative. Now today we're going to be discussing Kamala. Now we're going to talk about 2 or 3 groups that just had huge amounts of people join them in support of Kamala. The question is it actually huge, or is that the talking point that went out to the legacy media? First, we're going to discuss the white dudes for Kamala. Now, let's talk about these white dudes, and do they represent you? That's been the big push. They said there's hundreds of thousands of white men who are supporting Kamala. Well, that group is led up by people like David Hogue, who is completely against your 2A rights. It's also led up by several actors in Hollywood. Do they actually represent your rights? Do they represent you? Are they Main Street people? Or do they have a whole different outlook on this world? Because they are not living life like we're living. Also in that group, no one's represented to be a wholesome married couple. Most of them are part of the LGBT, and that's what they are pushing. So that's really who made up the white dudes for Kamala last night on the Zoom calls and the big push. Now the big push has also been against, well, JD's weird. Trump is weird. Well, now let's talk about what they're standing for. Kamala has already came out just this week. And Biden, remember, is part of this whole thing. Where's Biden even at, by the way? But Biden has come out and said he wants to revolutionary change the Supreme Court. Kamala has backed it. There's a new report showing Kamala, from these white dudes for Kamala, are saying can't wait for Kamala to win because she is going to grant amnesty for illegal immigrants. Then we've heard that, well, that's not true. No one said that. Listen to this. Senator Elizabeth Warren also states that Kamala will grant citizenship for illegal immigrants. So is that representing American Main Street? Is that representing you and your families? Let's look at 2 more things. Drag queens in schools. Kamala says she supported it. Just this week, she met with 3 drag queens in support of them being in your schools. Does that actually represent you and your families? Another huge one, and this goes back to the fact of amnesty. There's a new report that says National Border Patrol Council Union VP. Now unions typically supports Democrats, but listen what this union VP says. His name is John Amundsen. VP Harris has never met with anyone in this organization despite her role of being over the border. So if she's doing so good as the czar and she's trying to do so much for America and make sure America's safe, she has not met with the union bosses on how to make sure the border is safe. Not once. So is that showing true leadership? They've also came out in support of Trump. White feminists, teachers unions have all backed Kamala. Again, does that represent you as the majority of Americans living on Main Street trying to make it to pay their grocery bills and make sure that they are raising their kids in a good environment? No. But here's what I don't want you to miss. PBD did an interview on Fox yesterday with Jesse Waters, and he said, what we cannot do is underestimate this, though. The Kamala, like for instance, the rallies have been like 2,000 or 3,000 people, where Trump is filling 40 and 50 and 60,000 people. Here's what I don't want you to miss. Trump for sure should win in a landslide. But remember, Trump is not facing Kamala. There's a story that came out that said Obama literally threatened Biden with the 25th Amendment. Kamala was on board, the team was on board. So it shows that they were pretty much going to have a coup d'etat when it comes to Biden. So Biden regretfully went out. Now, I didn't like Biden, don't like Biden. I think he's sleazy and a sellout just like the rest of them. But the thing is this, if they were willing to cut him out of it to get what they wanted passed, the narrative of being even more liberal, are we going to see someone representing all of America? Now, we're nowhere near Venezuela. But did you see the situation with Venezuela? They started taking people's rights, started taking people's wealth, over taxation. They started also taking people's rights, like our 2A rights, they started taking that away. Confiscations, buybacks, all in these big cities down there. Now, look what you have a regime that they cannot get out of place because they changed the election, faltered the election, and made sure that only Maduro won. No poll and no pre-election movement was bigger than his opposition party. It showed him winning, the Maduro being down from the opposition party winning by like 40 or 50% in a landslide. However, after the election was over, guess who won? Maduro. And guess what? They have no rights, no freedoms, no 2A rights to stand up against this government. So now you're seeing an all-out civil war. Now, why am I comparing that to America? What we're doing is we're seeing foreshadowing of a third world coup d'etat. This is exactly what the Democrat Party has done with America. They have kicked their leader out because he was not doing and fulfilling his goals, and the system has then turned around and backed Kamala to be like the darling that she never was. Just think, 2 or 3 months ago, they didn't like Kamala at all. No, Kamala was not even popular with the Democrats. But now they have taken her and made her the darling. She's on every news cover imaginable. So that proves right there, like PBD says, you cannot underestimate who you're battling in this election. Trump is not battling Kamala. Trump is battling the system, the narrative, the fact of the vote. Did you know that Meta, they censored Trump's picture with him holding his fist up after he was bleeding from the ear, and they said, we're not sure, that's not confirmed an attempt on his life. What world are we in? Everybody saw it's live television. But that is what they're facing. That is what Trump and J.D. Vance are facing. Now, they've been personified as weak. They've been personified as weird. They've been personified as crazy extremists. And all the while, the left is the one with transgenders in the schools. The left is the one teaching you that family structure is wrong. The left is the one teaching you that they're going to open our borders. The left is the one teaching you that these actors and these activists are the ones that actually know what Americans want. Isn't that crazy? So here's what you need to do. You need to realize that this is not going to be a landslide victory for Trump. Should be, but it won't be, because he is facing a system. Look, go back and read the Fulton reports, the Maricopa reports on their election situations. Guess what? They found out they were very fraudulent for 2020. No one talks about it, and nobody's going to bring it up. Wisconsin turned around and they said, okay, we're going to start putting the boxes back out where people can drop their ballots back in. They're already setting up for another situation that's going to look like 2020. And the question is, are we going to allow it to happen? Truthfully, there's not enough people standing against it, because we all know what the last election did. And they came out and said it's hundreds of thousands of fraudulent ballots. But guess what? Can't change the election. And if we didn't learn from it last time and want to do something about it then, do you think we'll do anything about it now? That's what I'm saying. We cannot underestimate Kamala. Not because Kamala, the more she speaks, the more she talks about her policies, the better it is for Americans, because they're going to realize how crazy she is and how inept she is and foolish she is. But we're not facing her. We're facing the establishment, the media, the fact that everyone is saying that she is just the best thing that ever happened to America. the next Obama. I mean, that's just what she's been personified as. Be very careful of what they're doing. This is why Trump needs to say, okay, I'm going to pull the right in. I'm going to pull the conservatives in. I'm going to pull in the Project 25 people. I'm going to pull in DeSantis people. But then also I'm going to pull in RFK and Tulsi people. I'm going to pull them in, and I want us to build the best unification to say we want a strong America back. America first, safe borders, no forever wars, balanced budget, safe medical treatments, and making sure that we are putting money back in America's pockets. That's how easy it is. I think if Trump talks about those 4 or 5 simple things, because you're not worried about anything else going on. You're not worried about these crazy policies that they're trying to pass. You in America are worried about safe borders, safe schools, better economy. You can afford your groceries and gas, and making sure that we can get out of debt. If we stick to those things, and if Trump sticks to those things and brings in the RFKs and we bring in the DeSantises and we say, okay, we're trying to just say, look, we're not going to all get along about everything, but we can get along about this. Keeping people's money, their money, less taxation, safer borders, and focusing on America and not the rest of the world. I actually think we could win a landslide, and we could build something so strong that they can even cheat their way out of it. And that's what we need to do. Guys, give me your thoughts. That's just today's thought pattern for me. I think we're underestimating Kamala, not because it's Kamala. I think we're underestimating the system. But when you actually look at what she stands for and who is standing with her, it shows exactly what her policies will be. She's already come out and said she wants to be like Australia when it comes to gun buybacks, where she wants the people to not have their rights to bear arms. Look at what's happened in Venezuela. Look at what's happening across Europe. And they do not have the rights to bear arms. All because their politicians push their people to say, well, that's a good thing. Also, the rights of saying, is my children safe, when all these people are supporting, these rights and these activist moves where they want to break down the family. Does that actually represent America? And then, of course, the border with Elizabeth Warren saying, look, citizenship for everyone. Does that represent America? But again, you'll see rallies and you'll see all these pitches where, man, Kamala's the darling. But ultimately, she is not representing you whatsoever. She's really representing establishment, Hollywood, and the activists, and not Main Street America. We need to get that message out. We need to simplify Trump's message to say stronger streets, stronger borders, safer streets, better economy, a balanced budget, and focus on America and their families. Do that, build a unity ticket, and I believe we will win easily against a system that we were not supposed to. Give me your thoughts. God bless.